Happy day, guys. It's CapcorgiTV. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. I wanted to talk about a game we've not talked about in a little bit. Monster Hunter Wilds. Last time I made a video about this was 6 months ago, where I talked about the massive issues plaguing the game with performance, plaguing the game with lack of updates, and so on and so forth, that led to an absolutely terrifyingly bad, for Capcom, review score on Steam. And so, but there's an update now, guys. There's an update, something that came up over the past couple of days, something very fascinating, and I wanted to, dive into it with you guys. Apparently, a lot of the performance problems are being caused on Capcom's end by a series of checks where they check on the game side for if you have all the paid DLCs or not. Very weird story. And that check happens like thousands and thousands of times a minute. And as a result of that, it creates load on your computer, which lowers your FPS. So we're gonna watch the video right now all together. I want to really dive into this with you guys fully and with full detail, because this is a fascinating story, and I really did want to see what is going on. So we're gonna look at this. We're gonna look at some reputable sources that have looked at this footage and have figured out, is it true, is it not. We're gonna dive all in. So I hope you guys are excited for this. I actually installed a mod that sets the DLC check interval to every few seconds and gave it a try. In terms of average FPS, I went up nearly by 10 FPS. Which is, considering that average FPS for a lot of people was like 30, and 30 to 40, 10 FPS is a huge upgrade, actually. It is not nothing, guys. It is not nothing. So, the one on the right shows the number of the lines DLC check has skipped. So this just shows how drastic it is. So we'll start at the beginning of the video. So 45 FPS compared to 37 FPS, 38 FPS. And all this mod is doing, that this guy has installed, is just skipping the DLC check. That is it. That is absolutely it. It's kind of insane. And so the 10 seconds in, it has done an almost elite number of checks, 1334 instead of 1337, that's already crazy. So by the end, it's about 5 to 7 to 10 FPS difference depending on the second that we're looking at. Interestingly enough, one thing that I noticed, and I'm not sure if this is a thing, I'm not sure if this is a bug, I'm not sure what this is. One thing I noticed is that the GPU and CPU usage for the version of the game with the mod installed are using more CPU and more GPU. So it seems that the DLC check is actually just gating the CPU and GPU, perhaps. I'm not sure if that's a thing. Hopefully, Tom's Hardware, Digital Foundry, they've looked into this, so I'm hoping to, read that with you guys and see if that is the case or not. Because, it's actually a considerable amount. So this is, a 84% GPU compared to 91% GPU usage. And CPU is a whopping almost 15% differential. So, yeah, I think maybe the DLC checks is just locking and gating the GPU and CPU. But yeah, it goes on for the entire video. That is all this video is. So, we'll go on to the next thing. This is Okami, who's a content creator that does gaming news on Twitter. A Reddit user, and this Reddit user, by the way, is this is the same person who made this video, I think. Either way, the Reddit user that is making these claims has already done performance fixes for Dragon's Dogma 2, which is another Capcom game that I've covered on this channel, with massive performance issues. Yet another abandoned game by Capcom, and I'll just call it how it is. Capcom has abandoned both of these games in terms of doing any updates, because frankly, they sold their copies. They don't give a fuck anymore. It really drives me bananas that this is what Capcom does, because they're such a high-quality company in so many ways, but they do this over and over and over again. They over-monetize, and then they don't actually do the work afterwards to make sure that they fix the problems in a game that they launch, especially these multiplayer-style titles. Dragon's Dogma 2 had a lot of multiplayer elements, obviously. So did Monster Hunter Wilds, and on purpose, I want to remind everyone, they released both games on a rush. Different years, but same reasoning. Because their fiscal year end is March of whatever year it is. And each game came out in late February. So the reason that they were trying to get this to market is to basically please their shareholders. That is it. All they're doing is gambling on pleasing their shareholders by releasing to you and me unfinished products. So as a result, regardless of all of that, so the user that has made this mod already did something similar to Dragon's Dogma 2, and so he seems relatively reputable for that reason. It's not a nothing burger on his end, at least. According to their investigation, owning more DLC equals more FPS, because the more DLC that you have, the less DLC it has to check for. And so, like, you as you can tell, in 40 seconds, it did 6,000 checks for the DLC. So if you have one of the DLCs, it'll do, like, a whole bunch less or fewer of the checks. This is due, according to this user, an aggressive check-in game to see what DLC you own. This is not intentional by Capcom, according to them. I, however, think it is intentional by Capcom. You guys gotta remember, when you are doing something as a game company, you are running a series of checks. Not only that, the FPS issues that have plagued the game is supposedly something that Capcom has been working on since the release of Monster Hunter Wilds, which was literally almost a year ago. And because of that reason, they've already done so-called performance passes, which really didn't help the performance almost at all, if at all, period. Because of that reason, it ostensibly, if the problem is this simple, I feel like Capcom would have found it if they wanted to. And either they didn't put enough manpower to it, or they kept this entire situation in on purpose. Because, companies like this, they often keep de novo as well, which is another version of anti-piracy. It's another software that they add on. Because of that, that also tanks performance. This is kind of like a more similar type of deal to de novo, in my opinion, than anything else. But that's a conscious choice by these game companies to do. It is a conscious choice by Monster Hunter Wilds, by Capcom. The user created a mod that tricks the game into thinking you own all the DLC, and notice a myriad improvements, and the information has been sent to Capcom support, so hopefully an official fix will be put in relatively soon. But, either way that you slice it, whether Capcom is doing this on purpose or not, is really kind of immaterial. The problem is either an error by intention or an error by omission, but it's still an error that is literally over a year long, and makes the game completely unplayable for a significant portion of their player base. I still have not re-downloaded Monster Hunter Wilds since the performance update, so-called. And when that performance update happened, I was like, all right, did they fix it or not? And I had like the same dog shit level of FPS with a 4070, and I was like, all right, I'm just not playing this game. And a lot of people feel the same way. To that end, let us see what the Steam user database is. Actually, I'll make a new tab for this, because I will be linking this. If you want to know more about like the performance issues and my issues with Capcom over this type of thing, I will link this video, the previous one about 6 months ago, in the description below, so you can see exactly kind of how deep the hole goes for Capcom. All right, so let's go to Steam, and we will look at the user review page for Monster Hunter Wilds. Hopefully it's better. I honestly hope for it to be better. I don't want games to be in a bad situation. I don't like to see this. Okay, so it's doing slightly better. It's now 50%. That is still rough. So slideshow simulator, bad. These are, by the way, these are not people that are like, you know, they just bought the game and they, you know, don't care about the game or anything like that. Some of them are. Like this guy is 0.3 hours and he gave it back. He essentially sold it back. Got a refund before he hit the 2-hour mark. But a lot of these reviews, this is 166 hours. And this was a review done just about a month ago, so that's recently. This one is 93 hours, and this review was done literally today. This one is 84 hours. It's just over and over and over again, and it's really about, I beat it with 10 FPS. Thank you, Capcom. This is all really kind of the same thing. This is the kind of the same thing. And people are finding out about this DLC thing as well, and they're pissed. And they have every right to be. It's actually insane how much of Capcom's entire good nature and good feeling about them as a company has been eroded. Their trust has been eroded by all of these issues with really one of their flagship games. This is just another post about it. Yeah. And also, like, you know, I think people are being a little too kind to Capcom. Oh, not intentional by Capcom. Capcom is the same company that, you know, Dragon's Dogma 2 is still an unfixed game. You know, you have a situation where Dragon's Dogma 2 had pay-to-win mechanics in the game in a single-player game, as you know, extra monetary transactions, microtransactions. And that was like a huge big blow it's a single player RPG. What the fuck are you talking about? They've done the same thing, adding, you know, single player microtransactions to Resident Evil games, which are survival horror games. Resident Evil 4 Remake had this. No one really bought it, but that doesn't even matter. It was still in the game, which kind of shows you where Capcom's head is at. They are all about the financial bottom line. They do not care about the gamers anymore, it feels like. It's kind of a huge issue, and I'm a gigantic fan of Capcom games. Mega Man is one of my favorite game series of all time. Resident Evil is my second favorite game series, like, of all time. It's insane. I love Capcom games. I played Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter Rise for, you know, probably 1,000 hours combined. I love these games. I love what the company can do when they're not trying to fuck us as the consumer, as the gamer that plays their games. But I think calling it not intentional is either, you know, this user, Kami, being too kind or too naive. I genuinely think so, because you never want to consider something that could be explained with incompetence when really it could be explained with also just malice. Or just by the fact that they feel like they can get away with it. I think that's much more likely because, you know, Capcom dick suckers are some of the biggest dick suckers in the entire gaming world. They will defend their game to the death. This video was a pretty positively reviewed video of mine, talking about all of the issues, the negative reviews and everything like that, but I still got comments in here from some of the people that were bending over backwards to defend Capcom over and over and over again. Not most of them, at least not this time. But I remember when I made this similar style video for Dragon's Dogma 2, and I definitely got that response. It was not a very well-received video because people were bending over backwards. This was like kind of like the first bad thing that Capcom had done. I raised the alarm bell saying that if you don't make a stand now, if you don't talk openly about these issues and push back now, you're only going to get worse later on down the road. And guess what? I was right. Same thing happened with Monster Hunter Wilds, which is a much more important game, a much more widely received, widely played game, widely loved game, Monster series, and compared to Dragon's Dogma. So anyways, going back to the official reviews of this situation, Tom's Hardware, they make hardware reviews, they talk about FPS things and things like that. This is a pretty major thing that, you know, it has to be looked at very, very carefully. So they confirm buying all the DLC for Monster Hunter Wilds unlocks twice the FPS performance. higher FPS, and again, he says accidentally. I don't believe it, but that's fine. Paywalled by resource hogging background check for paid content. This is absolutely insane. And apparently Capcom has made they've said, hey, we're going to try to fix the game now all the way down in January 28th. But they've made these promises over and over again. We're supposed to already have optimization patches. We've already had, 2 or 3 so-called optimization patches, which don't do fuck all, by the way. They literally do fuck all. I still have 30 FPS on a 4070. It's actually insane, the fact that Capcom and the Monster Hunter team thinks they can get away with this. And then you see them at every fucking showcase, whether it's the Game Awards or, actually Summer Games Fest or whatever, and, the devs come out, hat in hand, 3 of them, they come out, they look all apologetic, we're gonna make this good content for you, we're gonna do this, we're gonna add this, blah, blah, and everyone is like, oh, yay, Capcom. And I'm like, guys, we've not had, any fucking fixes for Dragon's Dogma 2, why are you cheering? They've proven nothing to you. Holy shit. But every time, it happens every time. It drives me bananas. You should not trust these people, man. You should not trust these people. They've not proven that they can be trusted to fix the issues that they themselves consciously caused. The good thing is, though, and if you want to hear about this, let me know this in the comments below. This is affecting Capcom's bottom line. This is actually financially hurting Capcom. These releases, these rushed releases that don't have enough content, that don't have enough optimization, that are purposefully released early just to hit shareholders, bottom line and give them a little boost because they're hitting before the financial year end and so on and so forth. All of these things are conscious decisions made by Capcom. And these are things that have hurt the long-term sales of Monster Hunter Wilds and made it one of the, at the beginning, best-selling Monster Hunter games. But the fall-off and the refunds for Monster Hunter Wilds has been astronomical and has absolutely hurt Capcom down the line. If you want to hear more about that, let me know down in the comments below. I'll make that video as well, because I'll talk about this all the live long day, because I love the Monster Hunter games. I want them to be better. And so if you guys want me to rant about that, I'll do it. just say it and I'll do it. Just say it and I'll say bet. Absolutely. But yeah, performance-crushing bug in Monster Hunter Wilds appears to vanish once all of the DLC is purchased and added to the game. This is the Reddit post that was made where he highlights it. Coincidentally, Capcom announced a large performance patch coming to the game to reduce PC Steam processing load. But we don't know if this DLC thing will be included in that or not, by the way. Yeah, the user who made the mod was unhappy with Monster Hunter Wilds' performance, complaining constant FPS drops where they should not exist at all were driving me crazy. And again, they had done the same thing to try to fix Dragon's Dogma 2 in collaboration, actually, with one of the company's devs. I didn't realize that part. That part is new to me. So that adds a lot more credence to what that Reddit user who made this mod and found this little root of the problem has said. Okay, so initial investigation, this is diving a little bit deeper, pointed to some sporadic CPU sapping background process. In the OP's case, it meant that a significant FPS dips were fixable by switching the gaming laptop to performance mode, but they weren't satisfied with this noisy solution. That's when your fan goes like crazy and everything goes 100%. Research into the issue continued, but a breakthrough came by pure accident. Running the game on a friend's Steam account, and everything was great. Then they spent some time making sure all the settings were the same, and then he found out that his friend had all the DLCs. That's crazy, man. That is crazy. So then he tried to prove it. Carrying their investigation one step forward, Redder created a mod to emulate owning all the DLC. And it stresses the mod is not to hack, unlock unpaid DLC. It just fixes the check. It just tells the background process, hey, you have all the DLC, but it doesn't actually unlock anything. It's not a crack. It's not an exploit, just to let everyone know. I didn't expect it was. Otherwise, Tom's Hardware and Digital Foundry would never cover it. Very understandably, neither would I. I don't believe in, hacking that kind of stuff. Unless you want to, surf the high seas, but that is a you choice. That is not really something I'm gonna say for a game, that is something that generally people buy because it's not like a discontinued game. If it's a discontinued game, then shoot, all bets are off, and I'll say it all the time. But this is quite a bit of a different situation. This is kind of just stealing at this point. If you do that here. Now, feel free to do it. I'm just not going to say, hidey-ho, go for it. The mod loaded, performance went through the roof, fooling the game into thinking you own all the DLC was a winning performance tuning strategy. The reason is simple. Performance was confirmed by the mod to be sapped by an insanely crooked and aggressive DLC ownership check function that Capcom has in place. This is so fucking very Capcom. They love de novo, they love shit like this, and they love trying to make you buy the DLC over and over and over again. After talking to Capcom contacts, they said, I hope we'll see a huge performance fix soon. They said they're not suggesting it was bad intent on Capcom's side, but wants to highlight the bug and get it fixed. But it goes on with Digital Foundry confirming the entire situation as well. Does owning DLC really improve the game performance? Sounds unbelievable, but it is true in select conditions. So let's see what those select conditions are. But yeah, so they go in deep. So this is with the same settings, RTX 4060 Ti, a Ryzen 5 3600, and this is like a 10 FPS jump. An absolute 10 FPS jump. But how much worse? Carried out 3 tests. So a 25% increase with the mod active, disabling the DLC checks. So if you hit the CPU performance, so the hit to CPU performance should not have that much of an impact on actual gameplay. And even in the hub areas, you're only likely to notice an issue if you meet specific conditions. Interesting. So what does that mean? It turns out it's not the lack of DLC that is causing the performance problem. It's the game checking to see if you have it or not. In the hub areas, in certain conditions, Monster Hunter Wild floods the CPU DLC checks, and the upshot is that it affects impact performance if you don't have the DLC installed. In the hubs. So this is not in fights. This is not like out in the world, according to Digital Foundry. This is fascinating. This is fascinating. Less DLC checks mod features a handy little counter. Initially, I found no weird behavior whatsoever. The amount of DLC checks from an early game save was precisely 0. But then at base camp, I interacted with a character that offered me the DLC menu, and then the DLC counter checks in. Anecdotally, I didn't have that many problems at the beginning of the game, but as the game wore on and I went to later areas, for example, I had worse problems with FPS. This is, anecdotal, but this is another thing. In less than a minute, Monster Hunter Wilds had checked for the DLC thousands upon thousands of times on the very lowest settings. So is Digital Foundry confirming that if you leave the base camp, that the performance does not actually get that worse? So their conclusion at the very end is, I did find it surprising and disappointing that they see the hub areas are so impactful on lower end processes, even when no DLC checks are happening. So the hub just has problems in general. At the very least, the initial DLC buying improves frame rate narrative has been debunked. So he is saying that in the game, when you're not in the area of the hubs, the mod that checks for DLC and stuff like that, all that stuff, it doesn't really affect the performance much at all. Interesting. So that's very clear. That is very, very clear. I'll always give it to you guys straight. So, but you know what that means. This is actually a really bad thing, in my opinion. Because if the DLC thing was the issue, what that means, and I'll of course include Digital Foundry and all these articles in the description below, so you can see the most up-to-date data yourself and, read it yourself and always trust your own eyes over mine. I can miss things, and also I don't have any biases. I just care about good games being good and bad games, being called out for being bad, with the hopes to improve. So I have no, horse in any race. I'm not an Xbox guy. I'm not a Sony guy. I'm not a this. I'm not a that. I just want good games, and I want them to be fair, and I want them to be monetized fair, and I want them to be finished when they are said to be finished. And not try to fuck us as gamers. That's all I want. Anyways, I always include my sources. Is kind of like the entire thing there. The problem is this: if, as for me, 4070, GPU owner, and I can barely play the game, and I'm still having problems, and this DLC bug is not the root cause of those problems, that means something else is. And this something else is a much harder to find solution, at least for Capcom and everyone else, than it is for me. So, that is a pretty much a worse problem. If this was an easy solution and we would get 10 FPS, I would actually just be happy at this point. I'd be a little annoyed for sure, and my initial vehement problems with Capcom as a company, releasing unfinished games and unoptimized games and not fixing their things, that would still stay. But at least the problem would be alleviated somewhat. That means that this problem is not going to be alleviated. So if you're having problems right now with Monster Hunter Wilds and Monster Hunter Wilds performance, you will still have problems with Monster Hunter Wilds performance, because this is not affecting the actual fights or anything out of the hubs, period, full stop. So if Capcom is making this patch just based on this guy, and this is the only thing included in the January 28th patch, which I don't know if that's the case or not, but if that is the case, then this patch will not help most people at all. That is kind of terrible. So yeah, I just wanted to make that very, very clear. I will talk about this more. Whatever happens in a couple of weeks, I will check my own Monster Hunter Wilds. I'll tell you guys if it gets better, if it does not. But I just wanted to give it to you guys straight. It's a very sad issue, man. I wanted to love Monster Hunter Wilds. I wanted to unequivocally give it a 10 out of 10. The gameplay is still fun. It's some of the fastest Monster Hunter has ever been. Arguably a little bit too easy, but that's just a taste thing in my opinion. They did nerf some of the mechanics. They kind of lowered some of the RPG-ness, the tracking, the feeling of immersion that was in the previous games. But as a game itself, besides those, minor quabbles that I had, I really did enjoy Monster Hunter Wilds, except for the fact that it was borderline unplayable for, I would say, a solid 50 to 60% of my playthrough. And I played through the entire game. I played through the entire, high-level monsters. I tried all the new monsters as soon as they came out, and so on and so forth. And it still, always had those problems, and I was playing at 20 to 30 FPS, which is insane for a 4070. I'm sorry. There's no fucking excuse. If I had like a 1080 or something, sure. But this is not that situation. So I give no excuses to Monster Hunter for, giving me an unfinished game and not fixing it how it should be. Because I've kept trying it every so often. I will download that entire 100 gigabyte fucking game and give it a good old try to see if they fixed it in the past couple months or so. And the answer is always a resounding no. So again, if you're having problems with Monster Hunter Wilds, this entire situation, if that is all that's included in this patch, they never really give proper full patch notes anymore, in my opinion. I really hate that. A lot of companies don't anymore. But if that is all that is included in this optimization, then you will not see any significant upside, because the bug is only happening in hubs anyways. So yeah, kind of a bad situation, guys. I do apologize. It's not happy news, but I will always give it to you straight. So if you guys like this video, give this video a like, give it a sub, share it with your friends. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you guys think of this entire DLC debacle for Monster Hunter Wilds? Do you think it deserves a better score or worse score? Do you think that this will fix it somehow? That this random optimization patch that will probably, It's not confirmed, but it's very likely because it was announced on the same day that the guy gave the information to Capcom. So it's probably a pretty easy fix on their end. They're just going to click it off or whatever. And they'll be like, all right, this fixed the issue. Haha. They think they're going to ride into battle victorious on the 28th of January with their new patch. And it's not going to actually fix anything if that is all that's included in here. But yeah, I hope it fixes it. I don't think it will, for the reasons I laid out. But I will let you guys know in a couple of weeks. So if you want to hear more, like I said, give this video a like, give it a comment, share it with your friends. I'll always try to give it to you straight. We've got plenty of great gaming content, great reviews, indie games, discussions, rants of all kinds. So definitely catch some more videos. And if you guys are liking, you know, the multiplayer style of content, everything like that, and you want something that is a pretty good game, let me tell you, Hytale is pretty fucking good. And I gave an honest review after playing it for 15 hours, so I will include this link in the description below, and I'll link it at the end of the video. So you can check that out for some happier, you know, more enjoyable content that is not about a game that is sadly still completely, absolutely, unabashedly, terribly broken. Anyways, that's my entire discussion. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in, always, the next video. Have a beautiful day.